Hello, this is Brett Knowles from PM Squared Consulting. This is a quick overview of the Asana Goals product. Now, Asana's Goals is similar to what we would think of as an OKR, Objective and Key Result. So some of the terminology I'll be using in this demo is Asana's around goals, and some of it is OKRs. And that will help you understand the connection between the two fields of thought. Now, I'm going to be using a case study of a discount airline to describe how Asana works. And I just want to outline the discount airline's strategy for you. So here it is as a strategy map. Their overall objective is to increase profitability. To do that, they're going to operate with fewer planes while attracting more passengers. How are they going to accomplish that? Well, with lower ticket prices and on-time flights, they're going to attract more passengers. And by being operationally excellent, having a faster turnaround time, they'll have fewer planes, which allows them to operate with lower ticket price, which allows them to also offer on-time flights in order to attract more passengers. How are they going to achieve that? Through focusing on process redesign. So the strategy map is how we've quickly captured the organization's strategy and strategic priorities to align to our overall activities. These are the organization's 7 strategic goals that we'll put into Asana. So we're now looking at the Asana tool. Now it's important to note that Asana's heritage is back in task and project management. And so there's a whole bunch of capability around task and project management that I'm just going to skip over for now. But it's interesting how the objectives and key results can drag and drill down to very specific activities and track at the individual level. For now, we're just going to focus in on the goals functionality, although it links with portfolios, projects, and down to the task level. Here we see the objectives that we saw in the strategy map. And what we can see behind each one is how many key results or sub-objectives there are, who owns them, when they're due, how we're progressing, and the specific owner, not just the team involved, but the specific owner. Now, what's interesting about how Asana allows us to report performance, we actually get 2 things at once. We can see both the progress, the number of things completed, the amount of the progress made against the project milestones. In this example, 60%. But it's also colored based on how the owner assesses its score. So I'll give you an example. First off, if you think of green means on target, yellow means off target, but I can get there with some focus. Red means send help. I'm severely off target. I need either more resources or the target to get shifted by the leadership team. Here's an example where we're at 33% of the progress has been made, but I've given it a green. I'm comfortable with 33% based on my projection. I didn't expect to be any further than that at this point in the quarter. Here, I'm at 66% complete, but I've given it a yellow. I'm behind where I expected to be. So that illustrates the 2 different measures. One, the number of units or progress made against plan. And secondly, as a leader, how I assess that in terms of the strategic impact on the business. So again, 33% green. Here's a case where I'm 30%, but red, send help. I need some support. So the idea is now quickly I can see the overall performance of the organization. Now, each of these objectives can drill down to sub-objectives, to goals, to portfolios of projects, to tasks. It gets a bit complicated, so I'm going to simplify it. In this case, we have 2 sub-objectives. So going back to the PowerPoint I showed you to begin with, here's how that would look. So for each of these objectives, they're going to be measured. What would we have more of or less of as we moved along each of these objectives? And what activities would we need to do? So in this case, for on-time flights, we need to do a couple of things. One is ensure that we've got some sort of runway prioritization and build relationships with air traffic controllers. So these are the activities which drill down from on-time flights, or think of them as sub-goals. So let's see how Asana allows us to cover those. So now we're back in Asana, and if I were to click on increase on-time flights to see its 2 key results or sub-goals, however you want to build them out, again, I can see who owns them, due dates, progress, and so forth. and understand more about how it's performing. So in this case, if I want to understand more, I'm just going to drill into the overall objective. And in this overall objective, I can see, again, how I'm performing, how those sub-objectives are. I can also get information about what the objective is, the teams involved, and specific collaborators. Now, this is important because this allows us to build literally a web of connectivity. I can associate this with multiple teams, with multiple collaborators, and this is how we can form those cross-functional teams that we need for success. In this case, there is no parent goal because it's at the top of the strategy map. But again, we can create a network of relationships between multiple goals, and then we can associate it with multiple activities. So this work, whether it is a portfolio of projects or individual projects, it allows us to begin seeing what impacts what. Now, these projects can impact multiple objectives. Again, that gets us the true web of interconnectivity of work that we do. So if I drill into that, and again, I'm going into successive levels of detail, what I can begin seeing is, and I can see this data in various formats. So a list format just gives me the specific steps that need to get done and their parent-child relationships, milestones, all that good solid project management stuff. Or if I would like, I can see it as a Kanban board. In this case, I've set up by which department happens to own it. An alternative is I can take a look at it as a timeline. Again, this becomes a powerful project management tool so I can make sure my projects are linked to the objectives that I'm trying to deliver on. Finally, for our purposes, progress. Progress allows us to report out to a broader audience how we're performing. So this allows us to set standard questions that every single activity needs to respond to, and allows us some asynchronous communication. We can begin dialoguing about these objectives even before we have performance meetings. In fact, if I have concerns about it, keeping this asynchronous communication going, I can actually request status updates from the project team and collaborators. So again, it becomes a very powerful tool to enable teams to work better, both when they're at the same time, same place, the good old days, or now when we're in remote locations and we can still stay very connected and make sure the work we're doing is linked up to the strategic objectives. Now, with this network of relationships, I can also report back at different levels. So if I'm meeting with my team, I can do this analysis at the team level. At the task activity. If I'm meeting with my group, I can report back at the project level. If I'm with the broader organization, I could be at the portfolio level or even the strategic level. So let's take a look at that. Let's take a look at the overall strategic analysis as an example. So in this case, the overall executive team, I can set up conversations around each objective. So what we recommend to our clients is for each objective, each month, or maybe each fortnight or each week, we're going to provide some analysis. 3 sentences: what, so what, now what? And this allows the owner to communicate with the rest of the organization beyond the data, what's actually happening. So now we can begin to prepare for meetings, have the right homework done, have the right recommendations in place, and we can actually have a running commentary that keeps us in contact and can see the history as people interact with the content. So that's a quick overview of the Goals product. We think it's very powerful in terms of what it currently does, and also with the ability to connect to other elements of Asana, both those which are currently available and those that are coming. This allows us to do a very powerful bottom-up build using the tools that project teams are already comfortable with in their scrums and agile, but also in a format that allows leadership to very quickly come up to speed. Hopefully this has given you an interesting insight on this great new addition to the OKR product suite.